Hi everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel of Anthropology for UPSC by Simplified IAS Academy. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the Anthropology paper 1 of UPSC Mains 2025. So we will not just analyze the paper, like what kind of questions were there, but we'll also try to see some trends, some themes, and help you to make a strategy for the upcoming mains. And to make it manageable for you all at your end, we have tried to break it down into parts. So in today's video, I'm not going to cover the entire paper one, but we'll pick up certain blocks from the paper one and discuss that. So you can go through those questions once you're done watching the videos and try to see at your own end, like what you would have written if you have to write that particular question in the exam. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So let's get started with the question number 1 of your section A. So the very first question is about the Mendelian and non-Mendelian traits. So for this question, if you just see whether this is a part of your syllabus or not, so this is very much part of your syllabus, unit 9.2. And Mendelian and non-Mendelian traits are directly mentioned in your syllabus, which means answering this question should not be difficult for anyone who have completed their syllabus well. And above all, even in the PYQs also, you will find certain kind of a question related to Mendel law. There were questions related to polygenetic inheritance, which means that this particular section is also frequently asked in the exam, which means you should pay a good head attention to it. Now, how you should answer this particular question. So see, for any question separated with and type of a question that I say, in most of my test series, I have also explained about this particular thing, that whenever there are 10 marker questions which are separated by and there are two concepts which could be very much related or unrelated no matter, but you should try and have certain common dimensions or explain both in coherence at least. So for this particular question in introduction, you can talk about the genetic inheritance maybe, so that it covers both the topics. Okay, then in the body, which is the main part of your answer, in your body you could first explain the Mendelian traits. So Mendelian traits are nothing but something which is controlled by a single gene, and non-Mendelian traits which is controlled by multiple gene, and something which is not Mendelian is definitely non-Mendelian. You could mention certain examples over here to explain it, and this should not be like more than like in first page you have already taken certain portions for your introduction, so it should finish within one page. And it's better if you just start the other dimension in the first page itself, because at max you are going to go till 1.5 pages for the 10 markers. Okay, so you have explained Mendelian and non-Mendelian. Now as a common dimension, to show like you are just not dealing with them in isolation, you can either differentiate in between them, though it is not mentioned anywhere in your question that what you need to do, which means you can experiment the way you want it. So you can differentiate, depends upon like various aspects whichever you wanted to, and then at the end in 1 or 2 line you can write about the significances in evolution. Okay, for example, if you're talking about Mendelian and their significances, you can talk about like how they help anthropologists in the population genetics. Similarly, for the non-Mendelian traits, you can talk about how they help in the adaptation studies, because in the non-Mendelian traits, you're going to talk about the skin color, the height, and everything. So those are the examples mentioned over there. So you can mention like how they are relevant. Okay, so that for this particular question, because most of these questions like 9.1, 9.2, what we fail to do is to add certain anthropological aspects or interlinkages. So make sure that you do it at least in 1 or 2 lines, if not more, and further you can conclude properly. Okay, so that's how this particular question should be dealt. Next question is the theoretical significances of Purum kinship system. Now, this is catch, because here UPSC is asking you about a very specific group, which is Purum and their kinship system. So there are chances like not many of you might be knowing that who are these Purum people. So for those of you who know that, like who are they, let's tackle like how they should answer this. Then we will get into like how you should tackle such question if you don't know about these. So Purum, if you know that they are a tribe from Manipur, and it is asking, the question is asking you about the theoretical significances of their kinship system. So you could say like this is kind of an extension of whatever you have read about the kinship system. And if you just start categorizing it, so it is mostly on the tougher side, if not moderate at all for you. And if you see about the PYQs which is asked in the past, so there were PYQs related to the alliance theory, and this question requires the specific application of alliance theory. But if you don't know about Purum at all, then even the PYQ is not going to make any sense for you for this question. Okay, So for those of you who know like who are Purums and their kinship system, so how you should answer this particular question is definitely you can start with who are these people, like who are the Purums, and then directly move on to the body part. So in the body part, what you could write is you could write about the alliance theory at first. And in alliance theory, we have read about the asymmetrical exchange system, right? And that asymmetrical exchange system is what is going to be applied over here. So, again, one very important point is that when we are reading about any concept, we should be having certain examples of that concept ready with us. And this question is a live example for that. Because if somebody is studying about asymmetrical exchange system, they should have certain examples related to it. So if not, then, and it's not necessary that you are having the similar example, because for the asymmetrical system, there are other examples also. There's a tribe from Myanmar which follow the same kind of a system. And when I say this asymmetrical system, what is they? So basically, they follow a cyclical exchange system in marriage. Suppose they have like different clans. So they have a clan A, B, C, D, E. So A get marries into B, B gets married into C, C gets married into D, D gets married into E, E gets married into A. It's like that. Okay. So this is following an asymmetrical trend, which we call as a cyclical pattern also. So this is what is being followed in the Purum kinship system, and something could be answered very well from the Levi-Strauss alliance theory. And one important lesson that we have got from here is always try to bring up certain examples from any of the concepts that you are studying. And as I said, you might not be able to get all the examples related to that concept, because it might happen that for that particular concept you get some other example, but in the exam you're getting something else. That is completely fine and nothing in your hand. Because for this question, like I assume majority of the people might not be having a good clarity. So in that case, you are not missing out so much. But what if you don't know anything about it? What you should write? So in that case, you can definitely write about the kinship system in general, whatever you know about it, okay? But this should come at the end, not in the beginning itself, because you're not sure about the question demand itself. So you should not waste your time here. But at the end, make sure that you star mark this question and come back at the end of your paper and write whatever related to the kinship system that you know. Now, once you know about it, like you know about the Purum system, and as I mentioned, you can write about the alliance theory. You can write about how the closed cycle of this exchange work. You can draw the line diagrams and everything. You can also compare it with the other systems as well if you want. That is like one of the things that you can do. So that's how you will be able to finish this particular answer. So this question you can attribute to your 8.1.8, especially to the second part of it, where you are studying about the prehistoric cultures and everything. You are studying about the tools, various types of tools, the industries and everything like that. So in this particular question, you can say that this is though a direct part, but not something very explicitly there in your syllabus, okay? But if you are studying about the tool traditions in detail, you must come across this particular thing. And why I'm saying this so? Because in our note also we have covered this particular culture, not in detail, but it is there. So at least you have certain ideas about it. Okay. No, then what to do if you are completely unaware about this particular concept or topic? So you can try and break it down. Okay. So osteodontokeratic. Osteo is bone, something if you might know. Donto is dental, and then keratic is your horn. So if you just break it down, this particular word, you will be able to figure it out three things. Now, one additional thing which is not there in the notes also, which is that this particular concept was emphasized by Raymond Dart. And if you try connecting the dots, Raymond Dart is the person who discovered Australopithecus africanus, which is your Tuang child. And this is, I'm assuming you must have read, because this is there in your syllabus, this is covered in the notes well, it is very much everywhere. So it is talking about this culture and its makers. So as you know that this culture was emphasized by Raymond Dart, and Raymond Dart was the one who discovered Tuang child or your Australopithecus africanus. So this second part of the question is also answered here. So if you just try connecting the dot, you will be able to attempt this particular question. Again, some of you might say like this is something very, very specific. Of course, this is very, very specific, but that is what UPSC wants you. that you have a deep knowledge about certain things that you are reading, and also at the same point of time you are able to interlink various topics or the concepts that you are studying in your syllabus. And somebody who's able to do it is definitely going to get marks for this particular question. Very interesting question is the smell as a signal among the non-human primates. So this question might seem to be like out of syllabus at first, but if you look closely, you will find this is something you could find in your topic 1.5, and there you have a particular topic, subtopic, which is primate behavior. So there you are studying about how the primate behave in various situations. So there also you will have some cues, not even in our note only, but whenever you are studying about this particular thing, primate behavior, you'll find cues related to the smell as well. So those are something you could actually utilize here. Now, this makes very interesting because UPSC is not just looking for people who are there for rote learning. Okay, here if you are able to use all the knowledge that you have gained, then only you will be able to answer this particular question well. Even if you just talk about the non-verbal communication, which you are studying in your topic 7, that is also something very much relevant for this particular topic to add as a certain dimension. Now, what to write in this particular question? For the introduction part, if you are not very comfortable with the like signal, smell as a signal, or the olfactory system and something like that, then you can simply talk about the non-human primates, who are they and something like that. To start with your body part, you can actually take up the cues from your topic 1.5 itself and quote examples. So first thing first, one is that whenever you are studying about the primate taxonomy and you're reading about the details related to your strepsirrhines, which is your lemurs and lorius, they are more relying upon the smell compared to your platyhelminths, which is your New World monkeys. So why this is so? Because they are living in a dense forest where they have to rely more upon the smell rather than the vision. And then you can talk about how these smell act as a signal during the reproductive phases, where certain non-primates are identifying their mating partner using certain smells, which is the case in the chimpanzees. If you are reading about the chimpanzees behavior, you will read about this particular thing as well. And then you can also show how this helps in the kin recognition, where the mother and the child can recognize each other through the smell of it, which is also very common for the human being as well, right? So these are something you could actually write. Then to add something on it and to make your answer look like more of an holistic one, you can try and relate it with the socio-cultural part as well, like how in humans also we take certain smell as a signal of maybe a social status. Suppose someone is having applied a Bella Vita perfume compared to someone who is using a Chanel one. So you will able to differentiate. Okay, this person is coming from a rich background and this person is coming from not so rich. So that's how you make the differentiation. And that is how you show the parallels with the smell as a signal among the non-human primates and the primates as well, using the socio-cultural aspects. So this is how you can tackle this particular question. The last question for the day is culture and embodiment. Though this question is not directly from your syllabus again, but you have studied about culture in your topic 2.1, right? And if you have a good command over language, where you know the meaning of embodiment. So embodiment का meaning अगर आप हिंदी में देखो तो होता है embodiment is जीता जागता नमूना. मतलब किसी चीज को आप प्रत्यक्ष तरीके से, like in your day to day life you're living that. And if you say what is the English meaning of it, so it is the English meaning could be that it is something where the abstract things are expressed or lived. That is your embodiment. And if you see in our note also, we have used embodiment of culture, although that is not like explained in detail, but still it is there. And if some of you who are like a curious soul and have googled about it or something like that, you could know a little bit more about it at that point of time itself. Okay, now coming to this question, like how you can attempt to answer this particular question is, firstly you know about embodiment, at least itna to pata hona chahiye, then only you'll be able to proceed ahead. Then you know culture very well. No, culture and embodiment, इसको आप दोनों को एक साथ करके कैसे देखते हो, that is how you're going to answer your answer this particular question. So in this case, you can divide it into like various aspects. How this culture is expressed through the body, and that could be, for example, like gender. Let's take gender as one of the dimension. So gender as a dimension, you know, like there are cultural norms which shapes masculinity or the femininity, right? So that is embodiment. And how you can validate this thing by giving example. So you could say that the femininity is embodied through the cultural norms where the foot binding practices are done in China. Okay, this foot binding practice in China is done because they want to have a like toned fit, smaller fit, which is considered auspicious and a sign of beauty amongst the women. So that is how it embodied the femininity. Then you can talk about the culture of bodybuilding, which is often relate with masculinity. So this is like a part of various culture, including the Haryana culture in the northern part of our country. So that is how you can very well use the gender aspect. Here you could also quote some of the anthropologists, whichever you feel relevant. Now talking about the other aspect could be the religion. So religion is another aspect where you could say that the cultural or the ritual norms are actually embodied via prayers, via like dancing, fasting, singing songs or prayers. These are the embodiment of religion. Then you can talk about health or illness. So there also you could quote examples. Similarly, even for the day-to-day practices, like how you eat, how the Indian culture is embodied. So Indian culture is embodied because we are eating with our hands, sitting on the floor. These are the embodiment of Indian culture. So that is how like you deal with this particular question. But until unless you're not quoting examples over here, that will not make your answer complete. Okay. And I hope even for that this particular question, which might seem again to be out of syllabus, but could be tackled if you do a little bit of interlinkages at your own end. But I know it's very easy to say this thing when I am doing the analysis out of the examination hall, but it becomes really more difficult when you're actually in the exam temperament. But the purpose of this entire video is to make people understand that you have to train yourself to think like this way even in the examination hall. Nobody is going to take away anything from you, but if you start interlinking things, thinking out of the box, that will make your life much more easier while answering this question. And regarding the overall, the analysis of the paper, I'll talk about that in the end of the videos. When I'm making the last video for paper one, I'll give you the entire summary how the paper could be ranked in terms of the level. Although I have mentioned question-wise levels and everything for your reference, so you can go through that as well. All right, thank you so much.